Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have a returning good brother to the temple. Previously here for Zeleryn. Now that it's had an updated version of its quick start, I decided it was high time to bring him back in to see how things are going. The one and only Sage, formerly of Kazandor, now of Star Hat Studio. Though you might want to fix the cover because it still shows the old name. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I am doing good. It is still too cold to live. But I suppose that's normal. Aside from doing a bunch of things all over the place, it's been good. But how have things been with Zeleryn? I know it's been a few months since the last time I had you on.
Zeleryn has been a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
troubleshooting, playtesting. It's been trying to get things work the way I want them to,
Mm-hmm.
even with my lack of experience of all this, of like game design wise. But I think I've come a long way, a lot with playtesting, which recently I've been playtesting with the creator of EZD6, DM Scotty, for the past 6 months in his home group, which have provided a lot of great wisdom and help in helping shape Zeller I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, don't worry about the levels of experience because a lot of the projects that I've covered on this channel have been people's first project, and everybody's got to start
Mhm.
somewhere.
Right.
But like I had a bit of a inclination of how things were going to be working beforehand, but I know that there's a few things that have been expanded upon since then. I'd Now we did kind of I do remember us kind of talking about the style of space opera that it's going for, and
Right.
I think I think you had said that that this is more akin to the space opera you'd see in a Saturday morning cartoon than uh your than say your Star Wars kind of affairs.
That's the vibe I'm trying to go for, is to
Hmm.
have that kind of like campy, over the top, pulpy cheesiness to it, which I know like Star Wars has a little bit of that, but I feel like Zone itself isn't so much a set it's trying to take itself too seriously. It's more about trying to having an atmosphere of having fun, where the main key things is finding artifacts or ancient magical artifacts, fighting in mechs, and doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I suppose one example of this sort of thing would have been Space Strikers, which was a cartoon in the 90s that was trying to imply that it starred a descendant of Captain Nemo.
Oh wow.
I do remember it very distinctly. Uh,
Hmm.
as well as and of course stuff like Exo Squad as well, which Exo Squad has its serious moments, but also significantly less ones.
Right.
but I can certainly get that. That sort of very pulpy approach. Uh, I'm trying to remember if we did talk about how FTL worked, because when you're dealing with a large
Yeah.
scope of science fiction or science fantasy, how one gets between planets, if that's even a thing, is one of those questions that's going to get
Mhm.
brought up.
So there's no real mechanics to it. It's just more like the narrative handwave. It's like it just simply happens where you go. You're going to get there eventually. But I
Hmm.
think for just lore wise, they use astral gates to basically boost them
Hmm.
through. Think of like Cowboy Bebop that has their gates that just slingshot them into a hyperspace dimension to their next destination.
Hmm. Yeah, so you are going into hyperspace. It's not getting shot out of a jumped up railgun like the mass drivers in Mass Effect.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Hmm. I can certainly get that. And of course, since gears are brought up in some of the more recent posts you made on Blue Sky, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask
Mhm.
about that. So when we're talking gears, when we're talking mechs, what sort of scale are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a very small scale like Votoms? Are we dealing with something significantly bigger in the 25-foot range like, say, Grandpa Gundam? Where are we at on the scale side of things?
So my original inspiration for mechs was from the anime Escaflowne, where it's
Mm-hmm.
trying to make fantasy or make mechs work in fantasy like that show did.
Mm-hmm.
And after discovering these other systems that already kind of did it, it was like I discovered Lancer, there was Aether Nexus, or some other obscure mech setting. I was like, oh no, I give up. This is not niche or not original, but nothing you can really make is going to be original, obviously. But it was something I kind of set aside for a while on the back burner for Zeleryn until I eventually came back to it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it fit somehow. So with mechs, I think I was thinking the original idea was to be like Escaflowne, which is about 30 feet or like 9 meters tall.
Mm-hmm.
But if I feel like that's too small, I may go up to like double that size where the giant Gundam scale, but I haven't decided yet.
Gundam and Escaflowne would be about the same height, relatively.
Oh, they are? Okay.
So they're about 25 to 30 feet. Uh, Stuff that would be bigger would be things like the Big Zom in the original Gundam, or Psycho Gundam in
Hmm.
Zeta, which those are ones that are
Right.
borderline battleships in terms of their size. Uh, or the really high class Titans in Warhammer 40K, like the Imperator class Titan, which is
Hmm.
just a walking fortress. Uh, and let me see if I can give you an. I will send a example image just to illustrate how how big they are. Uh, Let me. But the point is that those ones are castles with legs, and
Yes.
I don't think you're going that big.
No, definitely not. I think the 30 feet would probably be I would say no smaller than 30 feet would be the go-to in case I want to include like bigger kaijus, or let's say you're fighting a much bigger mech for your players to fight against. That's
Hmm.
like some big bad evil villain's like, oh, I'm gonna make something bigger instead.
Yeah. Here we
Or
are.
I've had people ask about oh sorry.
Um, for scale, consider that.
Let me see. Oh gosh, yeah, that's too much. Or I've had plenty of players ask about a Voltron mechanic, and I was like, I don't know how exactly that would work. I know that I think there's a Voltron RPG that exist, but I have yet to look at it.
I have looked at it, and if I'm being honest, I think something like that is only gonna work when the only mech you're concerned with is Voltron,
Right.
because for the same reason that if I was to if I was to try and make a Super Sentai or Power Rangers RPG, I would have to shelve doing the mechs because I have to ask and answer the question, how do you make that kind of mech so that the whole party is engaged? And
Right.
that's not something that works all that well when it's a side thing. Uh, I remember Mechton Zeta attempting that with the Plus book, but even getting that to work was a bit of a crunchy nightmare. And if you wanted that level of crunch, you wouldn't be using EZD6 as a base.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not even sure if that kind of thing would even fit the setting, which I think is just as important. That this isn't a do everything style of science fantasy. It's got a specific world with specific limitations and rules.
Right.
Uh, and
Definitely not a kitchen sink.
mhm. I mean, there's a bit of kitchen sinkness, but it's not. But this isn't GURPS
Right. Exactly.
or like the fact that you have a setting kind of disqualifies it from full kitchen sinkness.
Hmm.
Whereas some games don't have a setting but have a certain tone that they're going for, and those ones can be a little bit more flexible with that concept. But from everything I've seen and everything you've told me, Zeleryn is not one of those games. Uh, then again, I've seen people try and do Gundam in Lancer, and I've repeatedly told them you're going to be in for a bad time trying to do that because it's not built for it.
Right.
Like, not every game is going to be built to be able to do everything,
Hmm.
and the ones that lean into doing that, universalist ones, they have other problems. But with that with that in mind, uh, truth be told, I think a decent touchstone when it comes to the brand of mecha you're looking to go with would be Titanfall 2.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge inspiration for these.
Mm, especially since, with a mech is certainly powerful in that setting, but it's not invincible. And a team that knows
Right.
what they're doing can take out a mech on foot.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the three factions that you mentioned, you have the Galactic Council, the Krasnok Empire, and the Ozari clan. With the Council, would that be akin to like the Galactic Republic in Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, somewhat. I was taking inspiration from the Citadel Council from Mass Effect
Hmm.
with that approach.
Yeah, which is in a similar vein. It ah, and I'm guessing much like the Citadel, there's a certain spot that has representatives from different races and factions, but there is a council that oversees the whole thing. Everyone there can just make their
Correct.
case to said council.
Hmm.
Uh, on the other hand, what would be some of the touchstones with the Krajnak Empire?
Um, in what specific way?
Like like in term, you mentioned that the Galactic Council was somewhat inspired by the Council in Mass Effect.
Oh,
So
I see
what
what
would
you
be some
mean.
of the touchstones with the Krajnak?
Krajnak is very much like a reskin of the Klingon Empire, honestly.
Hmm. Which,
Because I like the idea of what the Klingon Empire is, but didn't want to feel like a carbon copy of it.
mhm. So based on that, would it be fair to say that it's a very feudalistic empire that is built largely on the conflicts between the centralized military and um, houses?
Yes. Or instead of houses, they'd probably be clans in this matter. But yeah, same thing.
Hmm. Oh, 'cause I know the Klingon Empire has been parodied a few times, but there
Hmm.
is certainly that approach. Uh, the I suppose there's some parallels one can make between them and say the more Mongol empire. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
and I know there and plenty of Trek fans have made memes about the insistence on honor when they use stealth tech, but the the approach to honor is all about respectability within the community, which in that case it's completely consistent.
Hmm.
Uh, I think the funnier thing was Roddenberry's reasons for why Starfleet never used stealth tech. His words
Huh.
were, and I quote, "We don't sneak around," which, not to put too fine a point on it, is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Now of course in the years since there were attempts to justify it of oh well they made treaties with the Romulans who not and part of the deal was not pursuing stealth tech. If that's the case, then I have a feeling Benjamin Sisko got access to it by walking to the Romulan ambassador and talking to him in the universal language. The universal language is violence. And if it sounds like I'm saying he just punched him until the ambassador said yes, that's not true. There was probably kicking involved too. But the point that I'm getting at when it comes to how you describe the empire is one where there's a difference between loyalty to the empire and loyalty to, in this case, the clans, and
Right.
the two of them keeping some measure of peace, but that being like a powder keg that could go off in the right circumstance. Would that be accurate?
Yes. Much like what's more important, your family or the mission.
Mm-hmm. I suppose I could also use the example of the very chaotic relationship between the King of England and the British Parliament, or the Scottish Crown and the clans,
Right.
uh, especially given how the clans at that time had a degree of autonomy. But that brings me to the Ozari clan. Uh, what would be some of the touchstones, some of the themes that you're going with them?
So the Azari clan is supposed to be like a space mafia type structure where they are a resource rich type of clan where think of like Jabba the Hutt and his pulling strings in the back of the scene type of structure
Hmm.
with that. I didn't have a specific I did well I couldn't decide on what species, though Zari clan is supposed to be one singular species, as what they're good at. They are very good at hunting down resources, being a very resourceful species compared to other species who rely on each other
Hmm.
to collaborate and work together.
Yeah. Oh, I know Star Wars had the Black Sun organization as well, which was on paper they described themselves as a legitimate shipping company, but like I said, on paper.
Right.
Oh, and I'd imagine the Azari clan has kind of a pyramid structure of the boss who gives orders to the who gives orders to the underboss, who gives orders to everyone below them, and then below them, and so on.
Yeah, essentially having a finger in everybody's pie.
Mm-mm. Uh, pretty much. As well as if things go south, somebody to blame slash cut off.
Hmm.
Especially since what what is interesting is that for the classes, for lack of a better term, you have the term star paths.
Hmm.
Uh, is there a lore reason why the name Star Path was chosen?
So in the core rulebook of AZ6, the classes are called hero paths, and I
Hmm.
thought it'd be cool or cheeky to call it star paths for a space fantasy setting.
Yep, I could certainly see that. I think we did cover a few of them and how each of them has kind of a parallel to certain things. Like the Star Knight is definitely channeling Jedi,
Hmm.
um, which did make me wonder if there had been consideration for doing something akin to the lightsaber combat forms, which are just 7 fighting styles for lightsabers in that universe.
Sorry, repeat that again.
Uh, given that connection between the start with the Star Knights, there's a part of me that's wondering if there was a particular fighting style that they have that's meant to specifically take advantage
Oh.
of beam sabers.
I wouldn't restrict them to beam sabers. More let they were more supposed to be a very paladin-like aesthetic where they could dual wield beam sabers or beam saber and shield,
Hmm.
but it was more focused on that they have the ability to shift into what's called an astral form. Basically, it's like think of like a Super Saiyan form, for
Hmm.
lack of a better term. Is they're not the only one who have this capability. It's more like they're tapping into their inner universe, much like referencing the show Saint Seiya.
Hmm.
That similar concept. It was what I was aiming towards.
Yeah, I can get that. Now, with that in mind, uh, in the full book, do you plan on having like some sort of specialization or some sort of route that can be gone so you don't have each Star Knight playing exactly the same?
Correct. So each star path is going to have about 6 inclinations that you can choose. So basically, when you create a character, you can choose 2 inclinations,
Hmm.
and then you choose up to 4 star talents, which are basically just general feats in that
Hmm.
manner. So where as you progress in AZD6, you can gain more of those path inclinations through a mechanic called power dice,
Hmm.
which is in a whole separate product you'll have to purchase without me spoiling too much about it.
Hmm. Yep, I can get that. And some of the other ones, Commander is pretty self-explanatory. Any sort of ship
Hmm.
captain or just squad captain is going to fill that particular niche.
Right.
Um, Breaker definitely feels like a brawler. It feels like the one that would
Hmm.
pander to me the most. Um,
Nice.
a Esper going to be the psychic.
Hmm.
Uh, although I'd im- I'd imagine that this particular brand of psychic is has more in common with, say, biotics than the mental powers of, say, a force user.
Yeah, I would say very much so.
Mhm. Uh, and when I see the space hunter, especially with the arm cannon, I'm immediately thinking of Samus.
Yep, that was like I got to make this work somehow, just for shits and giggles.
Mm-mm. Hey, if 40K fans can reinterpret Samus as one of the lost Primarchs, I don't see why not. I mean, it makes sense. Samus is technically a post-human.
Yeah.
Just it's in that situation where when you've been modified that much, how much of you is still human?
Hmm.
And that's happened with her at least twice now.
Right.
Three times if you want to count the end of Dread, but I don't want to spoil because the mandate's still in check.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Uh, so good unless you're David Jaff, in which case it's shit for reasons that make no sense. And for whatever reason, he spent a whole stream bitching about Metroid Dread
Wow.
and got clowned on for it. Of course, I ended up saying, "Shouldn't you be promoting the Twisted Metal series?" Because I was like, you've never done a Metroidvania. What are you doing?
Huh. Yeah.
But like when it comes to the mechs, it looks like you have something of a heat mechanic.
Yes. So with mechs, I've broken it down to where there used there in the old PDF I probably sent you was there was a stress mechanic that
Hmm.
was adding an extra layer of keeping track of stress, and I decided to remove that because it felt like too much bean counting when it comes to combat.
Hmm.
So I decided to break it down whereas you use your overdrive ability, which is unique to your mech model. So when you're using overdrive, it's going to succeed whether you pass or fail your heat save, because basically what you're doing is you're just overdriving your engine or
Hmm.
core system to do this powerful ability
Oh yeah.
at the risk of overheating it.
Hmm. Yeah, that would make sense.
One thing I want to add, you won't that's not in the current PDF demo yet, is that there will be more abilities for each mech. I just didn't want to spoil it yet.
Yeah, because each of the models that you have has strikes, an armor save, and a heat save. Uh,
Hmm.
but I'm guessing, as well as the upgrades, but I'm guessing within that there will be other options for upgrades for mechs or even alternate overdrives.
Yeah, that's a possible option. I haven't gotten that far yet because this mech. So after playtesting the whole mech system, I think I got it exactly where I think I want it. Is that trying to add more to the mechs is going to get more complicated in that factor, because when you're in the mech suit, you can also use your path inclinations and other abilities your normal character can use inside the mech.
Hmm.
And I feel like trying to add more upgrades can make that a little bit more complicated for players that might end up with choice paralyzed. That's
Hmm.
the word.
Oh yeah, but I'd like to play a little bit of a word association game. Think of it as the nerdiest Rorschach test you'll take.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go down top to bottom with the mech models that are here. You tell me what mecha or mechanoid character would be a good parallel or touchstone that comes to mind.
Ooh, okay.
So the first one is the brawler type.
Brawler, easy off the top of my head. Mobile Fighter G Gundam. I think the American Gundam.
Yeah, Maxter, the most
Yeah.
American to American in
The
America.
boxer. Yeah.
A boxer with football armor, and let's not forget that the Neo America colony has the Statue of Liberty cannon.
Yeah.
Uh, um, the Shadow.
Shadow, most likely around the realm of like Metal Gear Solid.
Mm. I could also see Death Scythe if we're gonna be on Gundams.
Yeah, that works too. Oh, I forgot about Death Scythe. Yeah.
Uh, for one, uh, I feel like I could make a drinking game of the number of times Dual Maxwell got his ass kicked. Uh, but each of the Gundams in Wing was very much designed for a particular theater of combat.
Mhm.
You know, Wing was very much air superiority and basically a very fast bomber. Um, Death
Right.
Scythe was stealth operations. Heavy Arms was urban combat. You know, plenty of sight lines for him to just sit his ass down and and go accuracy by volume.
Mhm.
Uh, but where would you put Titan?
Titan, I don't have a specific one in mind. They're pretty much the tank of the mechs, where their overdrive will eventually be where their main focus is you will be able to force multiple enemies to focus on you to
Hmm.
attack if they fail their rolls. Or not their attack rolls, but more along the lines of where it's like you cast a roll that casts multiple ability or multiple enemies. If they fail, they have to focus their next attack on you, which then can also lower your armor save.
Mm-hmm. In that in that case, I'd actually say some of the assault mechs in BattleTech might be a good parallel, especially things like the Atlas
Mhm.
or the Marauder. Things that that because they're assault mechs, which is the
Right.
heaviest class of mech in BattleTech, they're always going to be big targets. Because the kind of stuff that a heavy mech, not a heavy mech, an assault mech is armed with is the kind of thing that would make it a walking fortress in and of itself.
Yes, very much so.
Uh, like the also the, and just to hammer things home, I'm gonna double check something. So the
Okay.
standard armament for an Atlas is an autocannon, a few long and short range missiles, and and a full volley of um, lasers. And the Atlas is one of the mascots of BattleTech because of
Mhm.
because of especially because of the skull head.
Yeah.
Just to show what I mean for you, there you go.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I remember the skull head very much.
Hmm. Uh, some there's the meme that House Steiners would use would use lances of those for stealth operations.
Hmm,
Because remember, it's still stealthy if there's no survivors.
that's right.
Uh, but and there's then the striker. What would you say would be a parallel for that one?
Striker, I would say the heavy arms Gundam from Wing.
Hmm.
So the Striker has more abilities that the more it hits you, the more it can use its overdrive. Oh, I'm trying to think. Let me look at it real quick what it exactly does. Because there's a specific playstyle for it that makes it very scary as a striker. Because it's like if you're fighting against a striker, you're in for a bad time, basically.
Yeah.
So one of the key things is that if a enemy critically fails an attack, you get a free counter attack against them.
Hmm.
If you get a, let's see, whenever you crit confirm, you get to basically increase your heat save, which then plays into your overdrive. So you get a higher chance to succeed in your overdrive ability, which allows you to crit confirm a lot more.
Hmm.
So you're doing lots and lots of crits against an enemy, like an explosive attack, essentially.
Oh yeah. I could see that with any of the accuracy by volume types of mechs in Gundam, with heavy arms being one of the big
Hmm.
mascots of that concept. Uh,
Right.
but with the fixer, that'd be a tricky one to have as an analog because there aren't um many repair mechs where that's the main thing that they do.
Right.
Uh,
That one is very tricky. I'm working with still. I haven't completed yet because instead of just being a repair bot on the field, I'm trying to give it a little bit more utility to what it can do besides just playing defense all the time.
I feel like what you're leaning into with the drones is akin to the funnels that you'd see with New Gundam.
Yeah, it makes me think of Witch Mercury actually.
Hmm. Uh, it's prob in that case probably Aerials and not Caliburn.
Yeah, Ariel. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Hmm. Which I can definitely see. I can definitely see that. I'd also be remiss if I didn't bring up the options in every Gradius game I've ever played in my life, which is all of them.
Hmm.
Because I love me some shmup, and I will never apologize for that. I like shmup, but I don't like bullet hell.
Right.
Uh, but with Morpheus, I'm guessing that's meant to be kind of your ECM, your hacker's mech.
Morpheus is more of a trickster playstyle
Hmm.
where it's your job to confuse your enemies to attack each other. And what's cool about their overdrive ability, it's going to be that as a reaction, you can nullify all critical confirms on anyone into a regular hit, including yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, in that case, I expect a bunch of ninja jokes about them.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you think that you've hit them, but surprise, all you did was shoot a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But with Torch, I think that one's self-explanatory. You set things on fire.
So they're not. It's more. So it's not just fire was the original concept behind. I was trying to go with that,
Hmm.
but more torches. What they're going to do? They're going to be very much an artillery type playstyle, which like your job is to blow up everything and anything in sight. And if you're in the way, oh well, ally or enemy.
Hmm.
So they could be a very dangerous playstyle where they're just unloading explosives across the whole battlefield where flying shrapnel will hit enemies or allies at the same time.
Yeah. What instantly comes to mind going back to Battletech is stuff like the Catapult or the Fafnir.
Mhm.
Uh, The Fafnir is known for the giant Gauss cannons it has on its shoulders and for no arms.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, that's right.
And the catapult is technically fire support. Uh,
Like the equivalent, I cast fireball into the room.
um, their approach is, I have a missile with your name on it, and I'm going to keep firing until I find it.
Yep, that's the classic one.
Mm-mm. Some will switch out the missiles for lasers, or put railguns on it, or some people will even put jump jets on it because pilots are crazy people.
Right.
But I'm guessing the Warden is going to be very paladin-like in terms of
So
taking the hit.
I actually stripped out the warden and mixed it in with the Titan because those two felt contradictory in playstyle. Where one is just, or actually, I took apart and put it into Morpheus where they can nullify crits,
Mm-hmm.
and the Titan's job is to basically focus fire onto themselves. And that's where I felt the warden didn't really feel necessary at that point.
I can certainly get that. Uh, and when I look at the upgrades, the main one that catches my attention is Full Throttle, which I see this sort of thing and I immediately think of jump jets. So I'm immediately
Mhm.
thinking it's only a matter of time before somebody makes the equivalent of a Highlander and does DFA.
Yeah.
Because you've probably heard of the Highlander Burial.
Highlander Burial.
The Highlander is a heavy mech with jump jets, which normally that doesn't work because because heavy mechs are too, well, heavy for that kind of thing. But I guess someone decided to apply the principle of even a brick can fly if you throw it hard enough.
Um, so the hard thing with EZD6, it's not really made to be a tactical combat system. It's much more along the focus of theater of the mind. So like combat zones are broken up into near and far, which near being up to 30 feet and far being beyond that. And I was trying to think of ways to upgrade mechs to fit not so much as fit shoehorn into tactical combat, but more to give players or game masters the option to they can still play in that tactical grid combat style. But I'm not so sure whether to leave it in or not because they have to come up with even more upgrades to justify that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the Highlander Burial is the fact that Highlander pilots tended to use those jump jets to just jump right on top of mechs and literally bury them.
That's funny.
And when the engineers found out about it, they were like, "Look, we can't stop you from doing this, so we'll just armor up the legs so you don't break them on the way down."
Just one stop.
'Cause I think they knew that if they told them, please don't do that again, that's not going to stop
Right.
them. If anything, it's going to make the problem worse. So it's like I know you're I know you're going to end up crashing this car, so we're going to armor it up just because.
I may not have legs, but I'm not out of options.
Mm-hmm. But of course, because of the reputation of the mech, there's been the meme of Highlander pilots playing bagpipes while they descend from their jump.
That's
Which,
great.
for the record, here's an example of a Highlander. And I know it would be tempting for someone to
It's
say,
hard to...
for someone to say, why would you blare music? Isn't that going to give your position away? The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
I want them to know that I'm coming. No, it's I think one of the F series fighter planes has something like that where it has a larger profile on radar than the actual plane because it
Oh
wants
wow.
you to know it's coming.
It's great.
It's like I am it's like, well, welcome to your dodging class. The price for failure is death. But I can certainly get that theater of the mind, which is why I brought up that kind of ridiculousness for jump jets.
Hmm.
Oh, I could just as easily see them being used for somebody who'd do the equivalent of a charger, which is in a universe where everybody uses firearms, there is nothing wrong with getting in close to throw hands. Uh, because the whole reason anyone picks a charger is to, well, charge. It has a very fast engine and it's technically a heavy mech, but it is not very well armed. So the solution is get in as fast as possible and let momentum do the rest. Because even if a mech doesn't have fists, that doesn't mean that pilots aren't going to throw hands because, as mentioned, pilots are crazy people.
I like to say the original inspiration for making the mech mechanics was specifically Mobile Fighter G Gundam, where they're basically just wearing skin suits that move with their bodies
Mm-hmm.
inside. And I thought, hey, that's a fantastic idea for mechanics, where players can use their own abilities without feeling like they have to play a new mini game inside of the game with mechs.
Yeah, I mean, I have done my own mini games with my own system, but some of that was for a specific purpose, especially
Mhm.
since uh, I wanted to have it where you're not breaking out the mechs for a normal fight. You're breaking out the mechs because a kaiju is in the room. Uh,
Right, exactly.
uh, and I know some people will make the joke of I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast fireball. My response has always been, what? You only need one? Why not go if you're gonna go with fireball? Why not go with cluster bombs?
Right.
Uh, or in some of my cases, I've instead used delayed fireballs just to make mines.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh, Mostly because since day one, I've had the brain rot of wanting to build someone who is more focused on setting up traps,
Okay,
like
that
a
sounds
really bad
cool.
Tom and Jerry sketch, uh, or like that Mousetrap board game we all had as kids. And
Right.
I've mentioned it before, but the biggest example of this was the up button, which was a room
Mhm.
trap that when someone steps on it, they go straight up at 40 miles an hour for 6 seconds. And because I treated spells like computer programs, the approach was it is going to do that thing and nothing else, and it does not matter if something's in the way.
It just happens.
Well, if the spell happens and you end up hitting the ceiling, you don't just stop. You keep going. And
Right.
if you get turned to paste, it's not my problem.
Oh well.
That ended up happening where a dragon stepped on the trap and in a cave lined with adamantite,
Oh wow.
which, that stuff's not budging for anybody, so where's the dragon gonna go?
Everywhere.
Yeah, meat was back on the menu that month. The party just goes back to the village and says, "Okay, I need every single cart you all have." And with that kind of thing in mind, it sounded like there were some things that had to get phased out or just integrated elsewhere. Were there any of those instances during playtesting where there was something that just didn't quite work, or you wrote yourself into a corner and had to hack off a limb? Metaphorically
Oh,
speaking,
definitely.
of
There
course.
was, yeah, many times I had issues with figuring out. A lot of my playtest was mainly focused on trying to get the classes to feel right and their own playstyle. Like the Space Hunter did have like trap-like mechanics, but didn't feel like it was working. It felt too situational with certain mechanics I was making, and that applies to most of them in that regard. And I had to really start narrowing things down to where they could be more versatile instead of saying, okay, on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can do this kind of situation.
Oh, yeah, I could certainly get that. And doing traps in a theater of the mind setting is going to be difficult at the best of times.
Hmm.
So I can understand that. And given that the Space Hunter is trying to be Samus, I'm guessing that you were trying to do something akin to the bombs.
Um, I'm trying to think what it was I had for the Space Hunter. So I guess the Space Hunter was more along the line, instead of like being more trap master, they're
Hmm.
more focused on the hunter, leaning more into hunter aspect. Like one of their abilities is called Path of Prey, which means that when you roll and succeed, you get to reveal certain foot trails or footsteps or clues to where your target is or was.
Hmm.
Or you can create like an imaginary, like think of like minor illusion from like D&D was part of that kit as well, basically trying to trip your prey.
Hmm. Yeah, I can get that kind of thing.
I feel like traps especially shouldn't be tied down to a specific class. For traps, I'd probably make it more as a consumable item to allow anyone to use traps,
Hmm.
or even a feat at that matter.
Oh yeah, I could certainly see that. Uh, Obviously not necessarily a feat, but more of a edge, just to keep things in line with
Yeah.
the naming conventions of Easy D6.
Hmm.
Uh, Although I do remember doing a test with another D6 based game where I ended up having and this is something that I couldn't do in a virtual tabletop. I only did this because it was at the physical table. Uh, it was a effect where I would keep one die in one of my hands and then put my hands behind my back, and the player had to guess which hand the die was in. If they guess wrong, they take
Hmm.
damage. If they guess right, they don't take damage. Uh, and then years later, I look at the stats for Nagash in, in Warhammer Fantasy, and I see that he has a similar thing with Hand of Dust. And yes, you could make this just an odds evens roll, but it's far more fun to play these dumb mind games. Almost like the two cups scene in The Princess Bride.
Yes.
of course, I may or may not have cheated and had it where neither hand had the dice and just didn't tell them.
Right.
That's
Just
only if I'm
drop
feel
behind you.
yeah. That's only if someone is deliberately rules lawyering and I feel like giving them a receipt.
Hmm.
But uh, I'm guess when it comes to mechs, um, I've seen some games have a sort of different scaling approach when it comes to damage. You know, the regular versus mega damage that Palladium uses, or the mech scale and on foot scale that Cthulhu Tech
Mhm.
uses. Is there a similar thing where there's like different scales? So if a mech was attacking something humanoid sized, it would be doing a different scale of damage.
So the way EZD6 by the core rules works is so it's not like you can go crazy with damage or anything. So when you attack, you basically roll 1d6.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit, you deal one strike because players themselves only have three strikes, whereas like let's say minions or goons only have one strike. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
fighting tougher enemies, they're going to have a lot more strikes
Mm-hmm.
per se. So now what counters that or helps benefit you as a player is that you have boons or banes. Boons means you get an extra d6 to your attack.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you take the inclination warrior, you get a boon to attacking with melee weapons. Oops, excuse me.
Yep.
Or marksman with ranged weapons. Wherein as with mechs is that your core base attacks with melee or ranged is always 2d6. And your boons can apply to those rolls as well. So regardless of how many dice you're rolling, you only do one strike, but it increases your chances of getting a crit confirm.
Mm-hmm. I could certainly get that. In that kind of instance, I think that the only I think in that case just having mech attacks be an easier armor save against humans would be probably the easiest way to do it.
Right.
Uh, Either that or just not giving them their armor save at all because they're being shot at with giant ass bullets or
Oh.
rockets.
So it really works with that. You do what's called an avoidance save.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically you roll 1d6, and the only way you're going to survive is with a 6.
Mm-hmm. So best hope the dice gods haven't cursed you that week.
Yeah.
I would say pray to the dice gods, but that never works. If anything, it makes the problem worse.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, no matter what your ethnicity, orientation, whatever, the dice gods hate you.
Oh, most definitely.
Mhm. They hate you, and they want you to know that they hate you. But they hate everyone equally. No one gets special
Exactly.
treatment or anything like that. But with that in mind, I know that the last couple releases have been playtest demos. Do you have plans on releasing a quick start in the future?
Ooh, maybe. So the original concept of Zeleryn, I was originally going to make it for Savage Worlds, but it felt very complicated to make for because there was just so much to build with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered EZD6, and I was like, wow, this is a much lighter system that I really enjoyed and loved how easy it was to homebrew for. And that's why I transferred over to Zeleryn. I maybe it's trying to think about how I could make it into a jump start because it's like EZ6 doesn't really have jump start guides like that for such a niche system. It doesn't really need a jump start because the core rules itself are very simplified. but I would still recommend anyone to buy the core rulebook first before playing Zeleryn.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Because there's lots of references. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah I can certainly get that. Since you mentioned Savage Worlds, I'm guessing you'd be attempting in some form to do the one-page adventures that Savage Worlds is known for.
Yeah, and on top of that, I felt like Savage Worlds was already making so many things that I couldn't would even be able to compete with without reinventing the wheel necessarily. Because like I could make something that already exists, and it felt like a duplicate or redundant to really try to make something that they've already made, like the sci-fi companion. There's other space settings that probably have already covered anything that I could come up with.
Yeah, that might have been for the best, because I'd imagine somebody might look at Zeleryn, and even though they are nowhere near alike, there's enough crossover that somebody would bring up, say, Starbreaker, and I like Starbreaker.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just using that as an example where it's close enough that somebody is going to try and make that comparison.
Exactly.
But with that said, I'll certainly look forward to seeing how the system develops. I don't know if I'll do another one of these for a playtest V4 unless something substantial drops.
No, that's yeah. Like my goal is to have a crowdfund announced this year for the book and a few stretch goals I would love to meet. Which I won't spoil anything yet. One thing I would like to mention is I have tried making a spaceship combat work for EZ6, and I've talked with Scotty, and he's play tested what I've made, and we come to realize it doesn't really work with EZ6. Whereas I made a combat system where it was broken up into phases. But the problem is every ship role that players can choose only have a few options to choose from every phase. There's only so much you can do besides just spray and pray, focus fire, or tell someone to re-roll a die of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can get that. And with that said, I'd like to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way to my monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here.
Of course.
And anytime you see fit to return, the door is always open. As I often say around here, drinking is not mandatory, but it is encouraged. And, of course, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.